I lay frozen as a woman in white entered, her hair covering her face. She walked toward sleeping Uncle Shehzad, sat at his feet, and began caressing them. Then she lifted her hair. Her face was far more grotesque than anything Uncle Shehzad had ever described. Her red eyes met mine, and she smiled. And then, before my horrified eyes, she stretched out her long black tongue and began licking his feet with twisted affection. I still remember this as if it happened yesterday. Many years ago, when I was teaching at the college, one of my Asian students returned after the holidays. He looked pale, almost lifeless. His eyes had lost their shine. His face was drained. I asked him, "Kashif, were you unwell during the holidays?" He shook his head slowly and replied, "No, madam, but something happened at home." That afternoon, sitting in my office, he told me a story, one that I can never forget. Let me share this story as Kashif himself told me. About 25 or 26 years ago, Kashif's uncle, Uncle Shehzad, was married to Auntie Zara. It was a rather mismatched marriage. Auntie Zara was very slim, plain-looking, and unattractive, while Uncle Shehzad was strikingly handsome, smart, and charismatic. He was a forest officer. Whenever he drove around the jungles in his open jeep, he looked just like Hollywood's Marlon Brando in his youthful prime. But Uncle Shehzad didn't let his mismatched marriage bother him. He had plenty of distractions. Everyone in the family knew about his many affairs. He was hardly ever home, and with time, his official tours increased so much that it seemed like he had abandoned the house altogether. Within a few years, he and Auntie Zara had 2 daughters. Uncle Shehzad was practically never at home. His mother was still alive back then. She herself had arranged this marriage and shamelessly blamed poor Auntie Zara for everything, saying it was Zara's plain looks that drove Shehzad away from home. Sometimes the blame even shifted to the 2 daughters, as if it was Zara's fault alone that she couldn't bear a son. Poor Auntie Zara, burdened with these accusations, would quietly cry over sins she had never committed. Even when Uncle Shehzad did come home, perhaps to change the taste of life for a while, he never treated Auntie Zara as more than a servant. Cooking, washing, ironing, that was all she was allowed. Yet Auntie Zara was still grateful. At least her Apollo was in front of her eyes. A deity is worshipped, not complained against, but fate had something strange written for them, very mysterious, very horrifying. The man who once never looked at his home suddenly began returning, and then never stepped outside again. He abandoned his wanderings, his pleasures, even his job. All he wanted was for Auntie Zara to sit by his side all the time. This enraged his mother. She was convinced that unattractive woman must have done some black magic. But the matter wasn't so simple. Uncle Shehzad truly left his job. He stopped going out. He stayed locked in the innermost room of the house, trembling in fear, calm only when Auntie Zara was with him. When relatives pressed him for answers, he finally told his story. Recently, he had been transferred to a far-off place, and that's when terrifying incidents began. One evening, while passing through a deserted spot, his jeep suddenly stopped. No matter how much he tried, it wouldn't start. So he got out and began walking in search of help. Dusk turned into night. He didn't know where he had wandered. As he walked, he began to feel it. He wasn't alone. Someone was walking with him. He heard the rustling of clothes. Whenever he stopped, the sound stopped. Terrified, he rushed back to his jeep, panting heavily. But even the unseen being seemed to pant behind him, as if it too had run. Thankfully, the jeep started this time, and he drove home in a frenzy. The house he was given was very old, many rooms, but in poor condition. His servant, Shafiq, had cleaned 2 rooms for him. The rest were filled with junk. The house had a large, overgrown lawn with wild bushes and ancient trees. That night, lying in bed, the evening's incident haunted him. He wasn't usually a fearful man, but he felt an odd presence. Someone unseen, lingering close. He thought of calling Shafiq to sleep in his room, but his pride stopped him. Somehow, he fell asleep, until he suddenly woke up at midnight. A foul, burning smell filled the room. He sat up trembling. Then he heard it, creaking like an old rusty swing, moving back and forth. The sound grew louder, shaking the room. The smell thickened. Suddenly, the lights went out. He tried calling Shafiq, but his voice echoed uselessly. Gathering courage, he stumbled to the window and moved the curtain. And then, his heart nearly burst. In the dim moonlight of that ruined lawn, she was sitting on a swing, dressed in white, long hair covering her face, swaying back and forth. He froze. Then the swing stopped, but the creaking continued. Slowly, her head began to rise like a slow-motion scene. Through the veil of hair, her red, burning eyes locked onto his. A chilling smile spread across her blackened face, mocking, threatening. He must have fainted. The next morning, he packed to leave. Shafiq insisted he must have imagined it, but Shehzad was certain it was no dream. Yet when he dragged Shafiq to the window to prove it, there was no swing in the lawn, empty, silent. Even so, the fear followed him. Again and again, he saw her face in his mind, the way she raised her head, the way she smiled. Then one day, while driving, that same burning smell filled his jeep, and suddenly she was sitting beside him, dressed in white, hair over her face. For the first time in his life, he screamed. Her voice came, soft, chilling. "Don't be afraid. I won't hurt you. I've loved you since the moment I saw you." But how could he not be afraid? Even her voice was terrifying. He begged her to leave him. But she laughed. "I'll never leave you." Never. She rode home with him, vanished when he reached the house, but returned whenever he was alone, laughing, smiling, whispering. She followed him everywhere. Only when Auntie Zara was with him did she disappear, as if burning in jealousy. Uncle Shehzad confessed this entire story, trembling as he spoke. Years passed, his job gone, his health wasted. He would sit in corners, shivering, unable to do anything. Later, his mother died, the daughters grew up, and even the spirit's obsession faded. She appeared only occasionally. But in the family, the tale never died. Some pitied him, others believed he exaggerated his condition to avoid responsibilities. Still, one night, I myself stayed at his house, and then, what I saw. At midnight, I woke to the same burning smell, the creaking of a rusty swing. I lay frozen as a woman in white entered, her hair covering her face. She walked toward sleeping Uncle Shehzad, sat at his feet, and began caressing them. Then she lifted her hair. Her face was far more grotesque than anything Uncle Shehzad had ever described. Her red eyes met mine, and she smiled. And then, before my horrified eyes, she stretched out her long black tongue and began licking his feet with twisted affection. I remember only my scream before I fainted. From that night on, Kashif was never the same. He told me with shaking hands and a pale face, "Madam, she still comes. Not every night, but when she does, I know I'll never be free."